Pink Cloud Radio 86. And, well, I could say so much about this, but I could also say what I need to say as always, which is this whole thing about the Death King and everything in between this. Because there's so much that needs to be said. A lot of times we might not get it all, but then again, I might not need to explain it all to you guys. There's so much here to explain. Like hope is like lingering doubts. You know? Those thoughts are only defended by what's not believed. Subliminal messages are brought out into, though, what else is accepted and what's beyond that lesser evil image. Can you define the bigger evil? You know, when we look at lingering doubts, we look at what hope is, we see a detachment from it. You know, hope is that detachment from what you want. You know, I want that, but it seems like it's not happening. You know, it's the easiest thing to meld our image around, that, well, you know what I want, and it's not happening, so it seems like it will never happen. You know, and that kind of creates and distorts what we are. It's that lingering doubt. And sadly, what most people assume of these created doubts, of these created sensations, are exactly the problem. We help create the same issue that we're trying to fix by saying, let's have hope about it. Those thoughts are only defended by what's not believed. Yeah. What don't you believe? You hope about. That's what you don't believe. You don't believe what you hope on. You know? Not what you harp on, what you hope on. You know, because I can harp on my past forever in this Death King vast machine of the Pink Cloud Radio. It's not really very hard and difficult to do so. You know, I can sit here all day and tell you, but it wouldn't matter, because it's like, for example, I appreciate all the kisses I got in my first relationship, and you know, a little sensual, nothing, no sex yet or anything, but I'll be fair about it. What I enjoyed was what I got, you know, and that's good. You know, that's all I needed, you know. If it didn't work out, that's fine too, you know. Because to me, that I can't linger on in what was there because it wasn't there. You know, it wasn't with that person, obviously. And I'm fine with that, you know. I'm not using it against the person. All I'm saying is, okay, then that's fine. You know, I think when someone uses it against me, though, there's a difference, you know. And you go, it's kind of... It's not good because you're not going to only use it with this then. And I think that's what hope is. It's almost like a lingering doubt, and it's something you're always going to use, you know, to get your point across, to kind of say like, oh, the world could be so much better. Yet every time people have done something better, they've done something worse. Supposedly. They name something better by doing something worse. So even if it's not better, it's better than having those other people around. You know, it's better than having the natives around. It's better than having the Mexicans around. It's better than having the blacks as slaves. But everybody's a slave in the free range. You know, and that's what really is happening, you know, by what's not believed, you know. Thoughts that are defended by what's not believed. So you don't believe something, but you'll defend that you're not believing something by having hope about it. That doesn't make sense, you know. To me, personally, that's a big contradiction. Hope is that big contradiction of what the human species doesn't, you know, we always try to say we built up from what we were, but we didn't. You know, a caveman didn't go, I hope to get food. It went out and did it, you know. A caveman didn't say, I hope to get along with these other cavemen around here, all these other Neanderthals. No, it just got along. If it didn't, it didn't. You know, if it was used or manipulated or said to listen to these other rules of another's, it wouldn't, you know, it wouldn't. You know, at that point, you have a choice. You can either listen to that, be controlled by that, or say no, you know? Imagine if all the slaves were told, do you want to be a slave or don't you? It's your choice. You know? And I think what subliminal message are brought out into, though, through what else is accepted and what's beyond that lesser evil image, you know? You know, it's always going back to what, you know, what... Like, let's say subliminal messaging. It's very easy to say, like, oh, that's subliminal messaging right there. Or on the other end, maybe it's not, you know? I don't think it's easy to say. Because I think, in a lot of ways, That's what makes a lot of people like say, oh, there's no such thing as that. You know, people wouldn't do that. People wouldn't waste the time. That takes a lot of work. It doesn't take a lot of work if you are, you know, doing the bad. You know, you need to hide every track. You know, it's pretty easy to actually, because all you do is just say secrets. You know, we gotta have secrets. We gotta have protections. You know, well, actually we don't. You know, and it's like labeling Edward Snowden, you know, an agent. You know, where he helped other countries, but he didn't give the information to other countries. He gave it to Americans. That's the difference, you know. He gave all this information that the responsibility of the NSA was actually not helping the citizens. It was actually going against their own rules that they said they wouldn't go against, that they wouldn't do that against the American citizens, but they did. You know, they weren't truthful and honest with the American people. That means that we're outside of this country, even if we live here. You know, that's the one thing that they're basically saying if they're saying that Edward Snowden helped other countries. We're not another country. We are our own country here. And I'm starting to learn what that really means now, what that really is seen as. You know, it's not a subliminal message, but what else is accepted and what's beyond that lesser evil image? You know, if you accept the less evil, because a lot of people say, like, the less evil. Well, no, don't accept any evil. That's it, you know. Can you define the bigger evil? You know, what's the difference? It's going to lead to the same result because evil is evil. And evil doesn't lead to a result of good, you know. That's been true over the years through what happened with the natives versus the people who came here. You know, that's what happened between them. So obviously, if there's a lesser evil, I don't see it. You know, it's, in fact, all I see is more death. That's all, you know. And I think it's okay by people because a race thing, the culture thing, it all gets in the way, you know. So it's easy not to see the human at the foot, you know. It's easy not to see that because all you see is the race and culture, you know. Oh, well, you know, they didn't let us have our own society and people here. Actually, they did. In fact, they invited you here, and it was okay. But since you saw them as an indigenous peoples, since you saw them as less valuable, as the 1, 2, 3 list of the top is us that came here without being invited, without pretty much getting an invitation to come, just coming, and we were gladly introduced, bringing weapons, bringing alcohol, bringing all this kind of stuff. That didn't help anybody here. And I think that's what I'm learning, that what this lesser evil and, you know, this bigger evil is, it's the same thing. You know, I can say all I want that, you know, people have used religion to a huge extent to try to define the quality of their character, but it's the quality of the character that's individual based. It's not your quality is not what religion you are. Your quality isn't what race or culture you are. Your quality isn't these things. Those things are just outside properties, distribution methods, ways to intimidate, control, contend with the people around you. But you do that by yourself. If you do that without religion, without politics, without being an atheist, without science, without stuff like that, then that makes you a better person. It's not if you use all those things to create your ties. I think that's what I've learned about what this lesser evil and greater evil is. It's pretty much saying that this is better way of thinking than yours. You know, that's an evil way of thinking. You know, and I think what I've learned is, no, they're all evil ways. That's it. There's no middle ground with what you're saying. You're basically saying, I can do anything I fucking want to. And that's all. That's what really a system is. A system is about authority. A system is not about representation. Any system. And I think it's a hard thing to keep this struggle going. Because, to be fair, all these systems die. All of them, you know. We don't even need to fight them. They're gonna die, you know. All of them. Especially the ones that are using their means to say the other ones are bad. You know, it's like a rotten apple calling another apple rotten, you know. Okay, well, they're all rotten. There you go. Because they're all systems. They're all controlled by people who most likely are the most violent people that are that personally the system was put in to stop, but But now those violent people have gone to work for that system, so they inflict the most torture and damage onto the people. That goes back to what I said about Edward Snowden. If he's said to have done espionage, that means that he's giving information to the enemies. So is the enemies us? Us finding out what the NSA does? We are the enemies of the NSA? That's basically what they're saying if they're going to put him on trial for that. That's what I've learned about my society. The human society that is not real. We're using human resources everywhere. Human resources. The same ones that the Egyptians used. The same ones that the Romans used. The same ones that whichever. In fact, the only reasons I'm able to even speak about it more is because you gotta have some free range to feel free, even if you're a slave. This is my free range. This is it. Pink Cloud Radio. Anything that I do in my free time. The unimportant stuff I do in my free time, of course. Because it has to be unimportant. As long as it's unimportant, nobody puts you away. Nobody treats you like shit. Nobody acts sarcastic, cynical with you. You can do anything you want as long as it's unimportant. And I think that's what I've learned about what freedom is. That freedom is not a million people saying okay to a little dot of people. And saying, yes, you can take taxes from us, or no. There's still more sound, and it goes back to what happened with the wars. Back in 2000, I think it was 2003, there was a huge protest of people saying no to the wars. And one of the columnists said that there's two kinds of people. The government, war, and the people in general, how much, there's two big groups. And it's the people in general that can say no to something. And I think that's what I've learned, that this bigger evil can be defined as anything, as long as we take it, And I think that's what's happened. The bloodlust over the years has taken over a lot of people to make it seem okay that we intimidate people just because they don't agree with certain things, or because I think sometimes what happens is we try to deflect our own intentions and try to say that we're the better ones. We know what to do. But the thing is, we don't. There's no one that knows better what to do. That's why that place was there in the first place. We wouldn't have needed to invade it at all if we were the ones that, can fix it. That's the whole point. That if it's in our brains, it must have been in their brains already. That's what proves how none of this stuff that's happened over the years with wars and everything has changed anything. It's only made things, in fact, worse. It's made Iraq a desolate land again. Same place. Now without a history, because all the libraries were crushed and destroyed, only all to dust. Well, that's wonderful right there. Look at that. The whole history of the peoples is gone. But it's alright, So a lot of people would say everybody gets theirs, don't worry. Well, you can't get theirs if all you're going to say is everybody gets theirs and not do anything about the people that are doing that to people. I think the one thing I learned is a lot of people love saying that, but don't love doing it. It's true. A lot of people love bringing up karma and saying everyone will get their karma, but not actually doing it themselves and doing something about it, I'd hate to say it, but a lot of people didn't take responsibility before in our societies, ever. In my lifetime, and what I've seen before my lifetime, with people everywhere, my age, my grandparents, my stuff like this, nobody took responsibility. They didn't. They were the same as us, which means someone has to take responsibility above what our government does. And not just say, well, it's okay. It's not okay. We always are interested in losers because they can't do a thing. We don't want to talk about the winners because we don't want to talk about what they are actually doing. So when we talk about the Civil War, we got a lot of stories and movies based on the losers. But we don't have many about the winners. What have they done with their winning? Nothing. What have they done to make the world better? Probably nothing. In fact, if you look at what happened after the Civil War, a lot of the stuff that happened after that was almost the exact same thing. Chinese railroads, you had, even better one, you had the banks and corporations going in to get their rights as individuals. So not only did it protect the blacks now that did go, but it protected everybody. It protected everything that isn't even human. That's an entity itself. That's just a corporation, a bank, and they were all protected just as such. Now, it's not saying that stuff can't be broken down, mostly from the Federal Reserve Bank, but that's because it's an outside entity of the United States. It's not under laws or rules or regulations like we are, and as usual, even if they are, they can make immunities for themselves that would basically say you can't bring these people to court, bring this institution to court. You can't do that, But the thing is, you would have to prove without a shadow of a doubt. They don't need to. With us, there could be doubt everywhere, and we could go to jail. That's why a lot of people say innocent until proven guilty. It's true, but it actually doesn't matter if the masses are okay with putting away a little people. If you're apathetic and misanthropic, you don't really care if one guy goes to jail or one girl goes to jail that's innocent. You're apathetic. You don't care about anybody or anything. So the laws, the rules, regulations, see, that's where I don't get it. If you're really apathetic, if you're really misanthropic, why do you even care to have a system? You don't need it. In fact, you would feel better if you didn't have a system, because it wouldn't be manipulating you in the same way that it manipulates and discourages me to speak about it. I never got that about somebody who's apathetic, how they can actually be okay with having this system leashed on them. I think it's funny, because if you're really apathetic, I don't know how you could actually be with it and be okay with it. The horrendous thing that you hate most, the apathy, the misanthropy, it should make you want to not be tangled up in it and speak about it that way. Yuck. But we're always interested in losers, because it's easier to deal with losing, It is much easier, There's no art in it. There's no, pain in it, really, because all you do is lose. You don't win, because if you win, you have to do something. If you lose, you don't have to do anything. That's what happened during the Civil War. They lost. They didn't have to do anything. But if you win, you have to do a lot. A lot. I think it's something that I've learned, that a lot of people are okay with dealing with the losers, because it's very easy to deal with the people that eventually will be caught. That's why, with comparisons to what a lot of people say about conspiracies and stuff like that, well, yes, it's believable to say that people in a cave can come up with a plan for 9/11, but it's not capable of our own country or countries all around the world coming together and doing it together, instead of, and just blaming using somebody else as a patsy. That's not possible. Nobody would be that evil. But somebody was that evil. Even in the official story, somebody was that evil. Which means that we like to blame and leash it onto a race and culture rather than humans. That's where we come back to the fact of some humans are better than others. But it's not because of their race and culture. And I think that's the one thing that we've kind of depleted in. Which means that we've let anybody who's bad even, who does the most wretched things, be in power. Because at least what? Pretty much at least is a barrier. It's just something that we hold on to. Even, and I think that's one thing that I've seen from a lot of people, that what's happened between myself and growing up with this, there's a lot of revenge, there's a lot of vengeance, there's a lot of stuff like this I don't agree with. There we go. And I don't have to, you can say that we need to get revenge, we need to get vengeance, we need to show them. Show them what? The one thing that I've learned is, if somebody's doing something, there's got to be a reason, and people don't usually wait to have a reason, People don't usually wait to have a reason, It means on both ends there was something behind it, there was something in front of it, and most people don't want to pay attention to that, because, as usual, you don't persecute the winners, you persecute the losers, because at least the losers can take it. They lost. But if you persecute the winners, you might not have much of a chance, because a lot of people don't really look at that too much. They're like, oh, well, they won, so we kind of have to have a blind eye to that stuff. Why? The one thing I learned is, if somebody's doing evil, gotta call them out on it, And I think a lot of people try to make it seem like, well, you're not God, I'm not trying to be God, but you are. Except you're the opposite of God because you're trying to say that something wrong is right. You could wrong any right. You could right any wrong pretty much, Oh, it's right to do this when it's actually wrong to. You just do it anyway. So I love that because anybody who's bad can get away with it just because of that. What do you think, you're God? Well, it sounds like you think you're God. And I love that idea, that sentiment, that kind of use of provocative language just to get your point across. Being an asshole, being a douchebag, being pretty much anything you want to do is plentiful, and it'll last, but it won't last forever. Roman Empire didn't last forever, and any democracies haven't lasted forever. So it's going to be fun seeing this fall down. Whether I'm alive or not. I'm going to keep my eye because I want to see exactly why people are so inept of their own personalities, of their own individualities. Because all they have to say, like, if you were given a choice, as I said earlier, if you were given a choice to be a slave or not, would you say yes? A choice, I said, not forced. I think what I've learned is that it is a very individual thing. Nothing to do with race, nothing to do with ancestry, knowledge, the kind of things you were growing up with. Those kind of things are only a means to an end that can be produced in any way. So me right now, 27, saying this, someone else could say this that's in the same position or different, hugely different position. They can say the exact same thing. The only difference is they'd say it from a different point of view. My point of view is done through a very certain way. Obviously, what I experience is different from a lot of people, so I don't want to intimidate or use it as a means to say I'm right, because I'm right for me. There we go. And I think that's the one thing that's always going to click in people, that, oh, yeah, well, you think you're right. No, I just think I'm right for me, that's all. I don't think I'm right 100% for everybody, because I know a lot of people would be upset if I tried to say, well, do it this way, No, of course not. I wouldn't want to do that, because to me, it goes back to what a new soul is. When people try to say that, oh, it's somebody younger who doesn't know too much, who just acts in their own way, is a new soul, But new soul or not, it's not a reason to action, Now, no reason needs to be thought of, So like if somebody does something, rather acting one way and the next shows intentions are not there at all to keep to what's been said. So don't blame others for leaving or just walking out. Yes, you can't blame others for doing that, exactly. And I've been blamed for that because somebody's a newer soul, you could say. Well, if you're going to blame me, sorry, you can't if you can't take the responsibility of what you did because you just do the action, well, goodbye. Because I did the action too. I took the reaction from that action, but I interacted with it. I didn't react to it, I just interacted with that same action. The aim of what I wanted was very different, but I still interacted. If you're going to blame it on me because I interacted, I took an opportunity, I took the will to push myself into it. It means I actually cared enough to. It doesn't mean, oh, well, that was just a little bit, Marcello. Well, then you don't need this Death King pink cloud around. You'll find somebody, don't worry, but don't talk to me as if you need to blame me. The one thing I've learned is that the new souls, it's funny. A lot of people do that. And I think what I'm learning is when people act in such a way where they don't want to deal with stuff, it shows how much of a new soul they are. That they just want to do the action and that's it, So, like, it's funny that a lot of people would say, you don't have any curiosity or you don't put yourself out there to do something. But the thing is, I do that all the time. Nobody notices. That's all. I'm doing that right now by saying all this. But nobody notices. I could say it 20 times over. This is my 86th one. If you're not getting that, I'm actually trying. But if you're not going to try, I'm not going to be around, Clearly, I'm a person who actually tries. And I think that's what I've learned about the New Souls theory. Is that they do the action, but there's no trying. There's just doing the action and then going on to the next thing. You can't blame anybody else for that, okay? And a lot of people do that are new souls, that are really new to this they blame everybody else as if, oh, you should know better. One of my favorite lines is that. Because they know better, but they're telling you to know better. But there's a big difference. There's a different circumference of how you're living. So to say that person should know better is like saying, I did this, you should know better and think like me. No two persons think the same. Sorry, baby. Got a lot to live for, but it's not to live for thinking like you. Thinking of you is different. You know, and I could say the same thing about my ex, that I think of her. But that's it. You know, that's all. I don't think for her. I don't give an action toward her. She has to do that and progressively make it, you know. The toward her action that I had was very different. And it's the same thing that I find now with a lot of people, that there's almost this sort of timorousness between people, that they can't talk about anything, you know. When you talk about kids, oh, I could treat them, you know, badly if I need to. I could hand out the punishments, but adult to adult, no, can't do that. You know, you got to accept the differences. They have their own characters. But then when somebody actually speaks out and stands their ground, oh, no, that person's bad. They stood their ground. Right there. It's no different. The only difference is the other person doesn't stand their ground. They hide behind other tricks. They hide behind corruption, dirty money schemes, money under the table. They hide behind all that stuff. Drugs across the cities. They hide behind all that stuff. That's it. You know, that's the only difference. But whether it's secret or not, classified or not, if they're doing something bad, you know it. You know? And I think that's the one thing that I've learned, that these conspiracies, anything I'm interested in, there's obviously a truth in them. You know, if it's as bad as it is, you don't know. If it's nothing, then there's probably some evidence of something in between that there was a connection. Or at the other end, it could be something even worse than expected. You know, and that's the thing that I've learned, that, you know, don't be scared, be prepared for the worst. You know, that's the one thing I learned, you know, and anybody can say anything about that. Like, oh, no, it's not possible. No, I don't see that happening. But you see it happening from other people, but not from us? Okay, you know. I mean, you feel pretty safe here then. Especially if you're apathetic or misanthropic, you must feel pretty safe with other humans around you. In a system, especially, that's not created by you or not intentionally enforced from yours. You feel pretty protected. I'm surprised, because most likely, being apathetic, you wouldn't respect or like anyone to have power over you. Usually. You know, I find it kind of surprising that you would live in that contradiction. You know, but then again, maybe that's why you do. Because whether or not you like to admit it, this is what keeps you close to humans. It's being in a system. So it's funny that a lot of people who are apathetic and misanthropic are funnily, regularly fine with the system. You know, that's it. They're fine with the system. That's all. You know. And it's funny, you know. I think it's funny because I think we do better with anarchy, because anarchy is already here anyway. The only difference is it's being used by the capitalist, by the democracy, by the people in power, against us. You know. So it's funny that people say, "Oh, we can't go in anarchy; we wouldn't survive." We're not surviving here anyway. Like, what's the difference? You know, there's a huge difference, because then nobody can say, oh, well, you got to pay taxes. I got to pay taxes on the land that I was born on? Really? You know, there's a big quiet in that I have to say, wow, I was born here and I have to pay to be here. That doesn't even make sense. I was born here and I have to pay to be here. It's a living thing. Don't treat it like that, it seems like. No humane way to do that with this. That's how I feel about it. And a lot of people like the transactionary living, though, because it makes it easy. There's something else to go to float at, to keep yourself close to, nearby. And that's what really creates what our, acting one way and the next showing intentions are not there. Well, then don't do it. If your intentions aren't there, then your action shouldn't produce it. Like, that's what I've learned about what that new soul theory really is. If you're truly not feeling it, don't do it. That's all, It's a hard thing, but it's not that difficult, really. Just do something you want to do. Do something you truly feel. And I think a lot of people are scared of that. That's a big one to be scared of. Because it's kind of saying that you don't want to deal with what you feel. Because, one, you don't want it, truly. But you don't want to tell that person you don't want it. And truly, what I've learned is, and whether it's hard or not, one thing that I saw and heard was what I heard from this audio from previous relationship and friendship. And it was saying that, from both people, that one person you could see really wanted it to end. Really wanted it to end badly, for me. And I think the one thing that I learned about that is, it's because she truly can't deal with a good ending, That the happy endings upset people, It's true, When somebody's doing good, a lot of times many people are upset with them. I think that's why, for example, if I was to point out what happened with my grandma for a minute, Mamina, with the city, pretty bad. And it's funny that people would say, oh, it's because you're just the wrong place, wrong time. No, wrong people. It's wrong people. Wrong people. That's all. That's all I need to say. They're wrong people. They're not human. In that form. Meaning they don't care about people. That's it. And if you can, it's the same thing. If you can give them the same kind of thing, then I can give this guy the same kind of thing of, hey, I'm not a person who likes systems at all. So I wouldn't agree with either of them. I think we need to have anarchy because there's anarchy already in this. Anarchy is the one thing that keeps us together. The only difference is nobody has a power arousal over you with their anarchy. So if they wanted to do something in that power, they can do it against everybody. And nobody can do a thing about it. But if it was all individual based, where we're in anarchy and we have to do it for ourselves, it means that if somebody comes up to you and says, hey, you want to be a slave? You can say no and walk away. But you can't do that here. So that's the big difference that I see within the system, within the property, within what we have and don't have, which is everything we don't have. Because it's not ours. If we have to go through other people to get to it, then it's not ours. There we go. It's not ours to begin with. We can trade, we can use bartering if we must, which is fine. I think it's a great way because trade services doesn't sound too bad to me. I can give you something that I do and you can give me something that you do. That makes sense. Doesn't sound too bad to me. But to some people it's barbaric, of course, because this isn't barbaric at all. War, not barbaric. Not barbaric at all. Especially since you have weapons that shoot from a distance, drone planes, not barbaric at all. Now, suicide bombers, barbaric for some reason. But not drones flown by computers. There you go. We're okay. And that's the identity of most people. They are fine with that. There's one and there's not the other. One, not the other. Both should be accepted, but of course, that's what shows that we're not accepting all humans. If a person attacks us a certain way and we say, whoa, 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 you're dead still. Doesn't matter, And I think the one thing I learned is if you start defining the quality of what a person does rather than why they're doing it, then you're not looking at the problem. The problem is a lot bigger. And we never looked at it. All we do is limit, judge, and everything around us. The notary public of acceptance or not acceptance. That's all we do. Approval, disapproval. That's it. And that's all that creates our friends, our enemies, anything we want in between. We squeeze the gene out. We squeeze the gene pool out. And we say, no thank you, you're going to be dead. But it's okay. Because no matter what, these systems will all fail. You're going to deal with anarchy anyway, so you might as well live in the anarchy completely. So you have the complete appropriation of who you are as an individual. That's how I feel. So I don't blame others for leaving or just walking out. I don't, personally. They had their reason. For me to talk like this, you have to be a pretty strong person to want to stay here. And weak person, too. You have to be so strong and weak that you know exactly what you are. That's it. You have to be everything in between of this stuff, because you have to understand that there's nothing bigger or greater than who you are. It's not about pride or ego, it's about being who you are. No indignity, no rattling the cages, everything already comes, in what you are. So when people say this is rebellious or this is, not being compliant, it's not about that. It's about not wanting to be a part of something that's already here, that doesn't design me. I can't be designed, I can't be a function. I'm not a function. That's it. And not being able to explain it out to other people, since they have not explained it to themselves, could not find an answer this way, That happens a lot of times. I've done that. I couldn't explain it out to a lot of people. They don't get it. Because automatically, since they have not explained it to themselves, could not find an answer this way. Yep, it's true, If you don't explain something to yourself, you can never understand it from somebody else, If you don't take that time to understand it for yourself, you'll never find an answer, It's one thing I learned. It's a hard thing to learn, but it's why I have learned so much about statism, about what a system is, about what a government is, really, and all these things. The only reason I learned so much was because of seeing it in action, and seeing it without action, The one thing I learned about myself, the darkest side of me, and that's good. It's not going to come out anymore, and it's not going to come out in the same way. Meaning that I'm not going to use my emotional outbursts to get my attention. Don't need to. It's already here. My emotions, feelings, sensitivities, guts, senses, everything, instincts are all already here. You're going to see them in what I say. If you think it's not important because it's emotional, then you don't care. Then you personally don't care about humans. All you want is a function. All you want is the computers to run everything. But there's still people here. And I think that's the one thing most people are getting tired of. Oh no, I hate when people speak up. Because they're damaging my quality of staying the same. Of, doing anything I fucking want to and getting away with it without the system knowing about it, though, because I won't stand up to that authority. Never. And that's their answer to someone like me who speaks up. That's how scared they are. So, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King Jr., Rosa Parks, any of those people from that decade and further back, and everybody in general, the same-sex marriages, everything. It's all a joke. You really want the government to have power over it? Really? You have to understand that you have to let that power be gone from them. That's it. You can't have them have power over the individual. That's when you're done. You're dead. You're sizzling dead. Doesn't matter what you do with him. If you get along with him, if you work with him, it won't matter. If you're not being an individual, you're dead. I could check your life signs. Gone. You're not there anymore. That's why people are zombies now. If people say, like, zombies, oh, there's so many zombies here, technology, drugs, over-depressed, under-depressed, excited, lack of excitement, laziness, boredom, all these things. Based on the intent. You don't need manipulation to do it. You do it for yourself. If you're giving up, you're giving up. That means that somebody else can make you give in to what they have. Because maybe there's something there at the end of that one. If there's nothing you can find with yourself, you'll never find it with anybody else. That's one thing I learned. And that's why I am single right now, because I have to be with somebody who finds something with himself. I can't be you, I can't make you, I could be with you, be strong arm on the side, but that's about it. I can't be more than that, I can never replace the people you've already met. Meaning that those people are people you already met. Like, that's why, to me, if I was with somebody, if somebody had old friendships, people they had around for a long time that they're very close to, I know that. I accept that. I don't feel like, oh, well, I don't trust that person. I never saw it that way. I think it's hard to, I think it's really difficult to look at it that way, because what that means is that what I feel personally will have will have the same kind of encumberment of what that person did. Like if I was to tell you that, I feel that I need to be right all the time, then I'm an idiot. That's it. Because to me, I don't feel that I'm right all the time. In fact, I love being wrong. This is one thing that I learned about everything that I just talked about hope, being a lingering doubt, about we're always interested in losers, about new souls, not needing to have a reason to their actions, about not being able to explain it out to other people. The one thing that I learned is I love being wrong, but I've never been wrong. How do you feel about your whole life when you're never wrong? That's why a lot of people join the side of the people they could win with. Because at least that part of the world of capitalism, of being the crony, capitalism, which is cronyism really, just cronies getting their money, in their own decepting ways. That's all it is. Kill the competition, because guess what? That's all you're going to do anyway. You're just going to take the money out of the market and use it your own way, manipulate it, and do anything you want. It's one thing I learned about it. But yeah, it's about, I love being wrong, but I've never been wrong. It's pretty sad, That's why there's hardly been a single person that's ever come back, really. Nobody can settle this. Nobody can fix this in that way. And it's fine. I don't mind that, I'm not wrong at times. But, even when I haven't been wrong, I've had to apologize. Why for? Because when another person thinks they're right and they're doing the wrong thing, they'll never change that identity towards it. They'll always say, I'm doing right, even if they're not. So you have to take that initiative to say, okay, then I gotta go. It's, for example, if someone murdered your daughter, okay, let's just say that, and you're in the courtroom, you're hearing all these people, all these sentiments of, I hope you die, I hope you go to hell, you're gonna have a special place in hell, blah, 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 on and on and on. Then one person comes up, says, it's very difficult today, because I heard so many people have so much anger, have so much revenge on their minds, so much vengeance. But truly, I just want to say I forgive you. You're making it very difficult for me, but I can't hold on to something that I didn't do. And I know that we're, as humans, are capable of so much good, but it's hard to see it. But it's not that hard to do it when you know you have to. I don't want to become like you and test that ground. I want to be a better person. So I apologize, and I forgive you. So I apologize for everything, of all this hate, and I just forgive you. That's it, And I think that's one thing, I wouldn't need to really apologize for everybody else. That's their own fault. So I just say I forgive you personally. Because it wasn't you personally attacking me. You didn't do it for that reason. But you went overboard with everything else. Everything of your emotions. Everything of not being there with anybody. But the insecurity of this world can set you in that direction. The sad part is, you can never not have insecurity. The only difference between what we have in a system, a civilization, a society, is, and I put those in quotes, is that we can basically say we feel safer only because there's an authority above what you do. But isn't that the same reason why you don't believe in God? All of you out there who are not believers of religion. It's so funny. Everybody who doesn't believe in religion somehow believes in a system. A system is the exact same thing. It's an authority. It's not for representation. It's an authority. So, all these people who say, I'm not religious because I don't want something dictating what I do. And then you're okay with the system. Well, there you go. Then you are religious. The only difference is it's not a religion of words with a deity that's invisible. It's words with a deity of true visibility. Of true indivisibility, I guess you could say. Because it's there, but the secrets are kept understashed, declassified, never. So, that's how I feel about it. And really this whole thing has to do with the trajectory of what my life is now. It needs nothing. I don't need the barrel in the ground to tell me, is it important to believe in God? No, it's not important to believe in God. It's not important to believe in government. But if those things matter to a lot of people, it's not important to even believe in science or to believe in math. Tools that have been used in not good ways. And some good ways, of course, but not much. Because what's been used for good can be used for bad just as easily. And it has been. So this is Marcello's apparent Dead Pink Cloud Radio 86, same year I was born, 1986. But let's stop here in this whole thing, the Death King. And I give you the same thing I give everybody. Don't be afraid of love and you won't be afraid of death. Little advice. Hard advice. But once you do it, you don't feel that bad afterward. Meaning that you just did it. Do it again. Keep it going. You're in the roaming road of middle of nowhere and lost. So take care. Love.